Hello, I'm Ian Patrick. Welcome to my channel. And tonight I'm going to be reviewing a classic that is considered to be one of the greatest films of all time. Now, I've reviewed a lot of classics, but I've never taken on a challenge this big. It would be like me reviewing something like Citizen Kane or Gone with the Wind in just a few minutes. So it's going to be very challenging for me. I think I might have to break this up into two parts where I do a review and then I always talk about the history behind the films that I'm reviewing. Well, let's get into it. Tonight's review is Duel in the Sun. It came out in 1946 and it's definitely a Western romance. A lot of people consider it also a film noir. And this film has quite the cast. Just to name a few: Gregory, Peck, Joseph Cotten, Lionel, Barrymore, Jennifer Jones, and let me read off the rest of the amazing cast at this house. Herbert Marshall, Charles Bickford, Walter Huston, Otto Kruger. There's just too many stars to talk about in this movie. But I have to note that the primary stars of the film are Gregory Peck and Jennifer Jones. Gregory Peck plays Lute, and Jones plays a half white, half Hispanic woman named Pearl. Now, I'll talk about the plot of the film. I'll try to make it brief because I want to get to the other stuff first. The plot of the film is that this girl, she is struggling with her identity as being half white, half Hispanic. She wants to make herself into a woman, a respectable woman, because she had trouble growing up. Her mother was considered kind of loose. In fact, at the start of the film, this isn't a big spoiler alert, at the start of the film we see a scene where her father witnesses her mother committing adultery with another man, and her father, played by Herbert Marshall, just is so angry by this that he murders her. And then he goes and he's hung for his crime. So Pearl, she goes on to live with another family on this ranch. And the owner of the ranch is Lionel Barrymore. And he's just this real brute, real rude. He loves his son, Gregory Peck, Lute. And Lute is he's just the epitome of a bad man. He lies, he cheats, he basically does whatever he wants. And he'll kill for what he wants. He's just a terrible person. I want to describe him using bad words, but I will refrain myself from doing it. Also, Lute has a brother played by Joseph Cotten. Joseph Cotten is the complete opposite. He's this real smart, intelligent, kind of a city slicker guy. And his father, Lionel Barrymore, doesn't really get along with Joseph Cotten. He doesn't like this son. So the sons are polar opposites, and both have fallen in love with Pearl, this half-white, half-Hispanic girl. So there's a love triangle between the three of them. And that's pretty much the plot of the film. It's also just Jennifer Jones's character. She's struggling with, she loves the bad boy Lute, but she knows that she should love Joseph Cotten because he's such a good guy. But that's most of the plot. There's so much to this film, but I want to get into a little bit deeper things of the film because there's a lot to talk about. Well, Gregory Peck and Jennifer Jones, they would later on be in The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit together. Joseph Cotten and Jennifer Jones, they'd be in Love Letters, Portrait of Jenny. So these two would work together quite a bit. And Selznick had worked with Gregory Peck and Joseph Cotten already by this point. But with this film, I want to first say that this film gets 4 stars out of 4 stars. No doubt in my mind. There's no flaws in this film. It's a perfect film. I should have said that at the start of the review, that is a perfect film and 4 out of 4. But let me talk about some of the pros of the film. So Gregory Peck as Lute is simply amazing. You will never see Gregory Peck like this in another film. Gregory Peck has even said that this was his favorite role that he ever played. Of course, stars love playing the villain. The film, the acting was the best it could be. Every single character, Herbert Marshall, Lionel Barrymore, just there's so many good characters. Walter Huston as the preacher who condemns sin. The sets were incredible. The trains, they filmed this in Arizona, in the brutal heat of the Arizona desert. I can't imagine filming there, especially back in the 40s. So the setting was just perfect. There was so much sweat on their foreheads. There was so much tension. You can really feel the heat from this film. And Jennifer Jones, she was incredible as the femme fatale. It was actually her first time to play this type of role, so we really see that Jennifer Jones could branch out of that innocent girl role that she was starting to get typecasted as, and that's what Selznick really wanted to do. He wanted to pull her away from that and let her play something different. This movie is definitely not your typical romance. That whole I'm trash aspect, it's just so unique for the time, because Jennifer Jones struggles with feeling like a tramp. She struggles with feeling like, she says, I'm just trash, because she feels like she's becoming her mother who slept around with other men, and it was pretty risque. And then also, it's not talked about much, but the father-son's relationship was also an interesting part of the film. And just the mother's love for both sons. Lute was a terrible person, and Joseph Cotten was such a nice boy, but the mother would still love both of them. And just Lionel Barrymore basically disowning Joseph Cotten, but loving Lute, who is just a terrible person. So there's so many relationships in this movie to pay attention to. It's not just the love triangle, which continues to make the movie great. It's very ahead of its time. I mean, in what movie back then where does the leading lady fall for a scumbag like Lute? It's all about lust. He treats her like trash, and yet she keeps coming back to him. They go swimming naked in a pool together. So this movie is just very ahead of its time, so risque. There's a rape scene. Gregory Peck, he comes in on a stormy night and basically takes advantage of Pearl. It's very early in the film. He takes advantage of her during a storm. She doesn't want it, and he rapes her. Of course, we don't see it, but we know that he rapes her. It's the most abusive relationship that I've ever seen in a classic film, and that's definitely true. As I said, why would she keep going back to a scumbag like Lute? Lute, this is a spoiler alert. Lute, if you haven't seen the movie, Lute even murders the man that Jennifer Jones is engaged to. He murders him so that she can't marry him. And then Jennifer Jones still goes back to him, still has feelings for him. At this point, I was like, oh my gosh, this girl, she's obsessed with such a terrible man. So the movie is quite a bit about a girl who won't stop going back to the abusive boyfriend, to sum it up. And she also, during the course of the film, Jennifer Jones is flirting with 3 different men. So she's not really a saint. But those are the things that I really noticed during the film. Also, the ending of the film was just incredible. This is spoiler alert, but towards the end of the film, Gregory Peck, he shoots his brother in cold blood. He shoots Joseph Cotten in cold blood. These are the 2 brothers right here. And I was just shocked from that scene alone. The climax of the movie is also very bloody, they're very sweaty, and it just is very brutal and painful to watch. But I won't go too far into the ending. But that'll conclude part one of my review. Part two will focus on more of the history behind the film. I have so much information to read from several books, so I hope you come to watch that second part, and I'll see you in that.